almost twice as tall. With his elongated frame, the apprentice seemed all bones and hollows in the lantern light. He looked around the room, dark eyes flicking across the floor. "Where are your little cat friends, Mouse?" "Not here," Oscar said. Like he would tell Wolf. Only Oscar knew the cat's secrets, and he guarded them closely. He knew all their names. He knew the sound of their footfalls. He knew where each of them slept, hid, stalked. He knew which one would visit him at what time of day. The gray cat with the lantern-bright green eyes was Crow, and she liked to come into the pantry in the mornings and nestle in the parchment envelopes. "I don't actually care," Wolf said. He turned his gaze to the towering wall of shelves behind him. "We need some raspberry leaf for a shiner. Now." Oscar didn't even have to look. He could see the jars on the pantry shelves just as clearly in his head. "There's none left." Wolf narrowed his eyes but did not question Oscar. A couple of years ago, the apprentice would have stalked over to the shelves himself to make sure. Except every time he did, he'd discover that Oscar was right. Then he'd get angry and kick Oscar. It worked out better for both of them this way. Wolf scanned the room. "Well, what about that?" He pointed at a jar at Oscar's feet filled with dry, crumbled green leaves. "That's walnut leaves," Oscar said. "It looks the same. Give me 4 packets. "But," Oscar sputtered, chest tightening. How could Wolf think they looked the same? "That's not what they want. It won't work." In fact, the herbs were opposite. Raspberry leaf was to protect a relationship, and walnut leaf was to break one up. But Wolf did not like it when Oscar knew such things. "Oh, it won't work," Wolf exclaimed, slapping his hands on his forehead. "I had no idea. What would I, apprentice to the Barrow's only true magician, do if it weren't for the cellar mouse to tell me that it won't work?" "Well," Oscar said, "you could always look it up in the library." Wolf's eyes flared. Oscar flinched. He hadn't even been trying to make Wolf angry. All he'd done was answer his question. Wolf took a step closer to Oscar. "Do you even know what a freak you are?" he asked. "There's a reason Caleb keeps you in the basement." His eyes flicked from Oscar to the doorway and back. "Anyway, who cares about the herbs? It's a shiner. She won't know the difference." "But what if she does?" The words popped out of Oscar's mouth before he could stop them. He could not help it. They were fluttering around in his head and needed to get out. Wolf drew himself up. "Look, Mouse," he said, voice carnivorous. "She won't. Shiners want magic to work, and so it works. If you weren't dumb as a goat, you'd know that." Oscar smashed his lips together. If that was true, it was no magic he understood. "You let Caleb and me worry about the customers," Wolf continued. "You can worry about the cats and your little plants and—" But whatever else Oscar had to worry about would remain a mystery. For just then the magician's voice came echoing down into the cellar, calling for Wolf. The apprentice turned, collecting his bones and hollows. "Bring the walnut leaves up as soon as you have them ready," he said as he moved out the door. "And for the love of the wizards," he added, "don't come out into the shop. We want the customers to come back." 5 minutes later, Oscar was creeping into the shop's kitchen, 4 packets of herbs in his hands. They were not walnut leaves. He hadn't much time, so he'd put together a package of passion flower and verbena, which at least would not cause active harm. From his position in the doorway, he could see Master Caleb leaning across the shop counter, his tree-dark eyes focused on the lady before him as if they existed for nothing but to behold her.